Sure enough, upon hearing the girl's words, the elder swooped down and blocked Jian Wuxuang's way. "Boy, she gave it to you?" the elder asked coldly. "No," Jian Wuxuang replied. "Liar. You promised me that you would stop them if I gave that treasure to you, and I did. But now, seeing they're strong, you chickened out." The girl pretended to be angry. "Boy, hand it over," the elder yelled. "I won't say it again. She didn't give me anything." Coldness flashed in Jian Wuxuang's eyes. "Didn't she?" the elder sneered. As far as they could see, Jian Wuxuang was much stronger than an ordinary half-saint. "I didn't use my full strength in that blow," Jian Wuxuang's cold voice resounded throughout the area. It was true. He just used the power of the origin and the fifth move of the selfless sword technique in that blow. Since he didn't display the sword realm, it was indeed an attack with reservations. Hearing this, the black-clothed elder stood there while hesitating. But right at that moment, the whole world suddenly came to a standstill. The wind lulled and the raindrops froze in the air. Jian Wuxuang, the black-clothed elder, and the others in the area felt like they couldn't breathe. They were barely able to keep a clear mind, yet unable to move even a bit. Time seemed to stand still. What's going on here?" Jian Wuxuang was panic-stricken. Tai Shan and Imo Ying, who were behind him, as well as the black-clothed elder, and the others in front of him, stared in horror with their eyes wide open. Terrible horror. Horror to such an extent that they had never experienced before. Even Jian Wuxuang felt some fear rise in his heart. Except for the little girl. She smiled happily when seeing the sudden change and said, "My sister arrived." The girl moved away and leaped into the air. The frozen space seemed to have no effect on her at all. Though Jian Wuxuang and the black-clothed elder could not move, they managed to look in the direction which the girl moved to. In their sight, a frosty woman in white, beautiful beyond description, was walking toward them. Whiter than snow, eyes like a clear spring, she was so elegant and graceful that everyone would be stunned and feel a sense of inferiority while looking at her. But, in spite of her cold appearance, there was something about her that caused everyone to be unable to resist being lost in reverie. Is she a goddess?" an expert from Skywave Prefecture murmured. Goddess, she was indeed a goddess. Even Jian Wuxuang was stunned by the woman's beauty and aura. She was like nothing in the world. She was so beautiful that the many experts here, even the black-clothed elder with 100 years of experience, had never seen such a beauty. Most of all, she had a terrifying power that caused everyone to tremble. Chapter 296, First on the Blood Moon List, Leng Rushuang. Chapter 296, First on the Blood Moon List, Leng Rushuang. Domain. Jian Wuxuang felt like everything was frozen. He tried his best to move, but he could not. It made him aghast. It's too terrifying. Unbelievable. It might be stronger than domain. Jian Wuxuang thought in private. The white-clothed woman, who aroused all their attention, finally stopped. She stood there, like a peerless goddess. "Elder sister." The scruffy girl called out to the white-clothed woman. "You caused trouble again?" the white-clothed woman asked while looking at the girl. The girl stuck out her tongue. Then she pointed at the experts of Skywave Prefecture and said, "It's their fault. I just ate one thing of theirs, and I said that I'm sorry, but they still keep chasing me and trying to kill me." The white-clothed woman coldly looked toward the experts of Skywave Prefecture. Her glance made the black-clothed elder frightened. He spoke in terror. "My lady, we're from Skywave Prefecture. Your sister stole something precious that our mansion master has cultivated for many years. Our mansion master is furious." Before the black-clothed elder finished his words, a blast of coldness swept over. Then the black-clothed elder saw his people become ice sculptures. They became ice sculptures, and then in the next moment, the ice sculptures shattered like glass and broke into pieces. The scene struck terror into the black-clothed elder's heart. Jian Wuxuang, Tai Shan, and Imo Ying also were shocked. Just a glance could change dozens of experts into ice sculptures and then cause them to shatter. What kind of trick was this? What did you say? Repeat it again. The white-clothed woman looked down without any emotion in her eyes. No, no, the black-clothed elder said in terror while shaking his head. It's my fault. I'm sorry. May I beg for your mercy? The white-clothed woman snorted. Go back and tell your master. It's my sister's fault for eating his things, but you've already chased her for so long. That's enough. We're even. If he is not satisfied, he can come find me. Tell him, my name is Leng Rushuang. Leng Rushuang? Jian Wushuang felt a tremor in his heart. He was stunned. Leng Rushuang ranked number 1 on the Blood Moon list. There were 26 experts of the Saint Realm recorded on the Blood Moon list. As their strength changed, their rankings often fluctuated. Several years ago, a person entered the list and ranked first. From then on, that person kept their rank. That person was Leng Rushuang. She had killed more than one expert of the Saint Realm, with bizarre methods. She did not make any moves. She just used her mind to turn experts of the Saint Realm into ice fragments. No one knew how powerful she was. No one knew her origin either. Even her age and cultivation remained unknown. Definitely, she was one of the most mysterious and creepiest experts in the Tang dynasty. The person who built the Tang dynasty was also a mysterious monarch who had led it to develop to its current extent. Jian Wushuang did not expect that this beautiful woman was Leng Rushuang and that the scruffy girl was her sister. Jian Wushuang was only shocked by this, but the black-clothed elder actually shivered in terror. His legs trembled. Looking at Leng Rushuang, the black-clothed elder shook his head like a rattle and said, No, no. Our mansion master feels that it was his great honor to have his treasure stolen by your sister. Leng Rushuang glanced at the black-clothed elder. You can go. It seemed as if everything was back to normal. Jian Wushuang and the others could move again. The black-clothed elder felt relieved. He respectfully bowed to Leng Rushuang and turned to leave. Obviously, he was petrified. Let's go. Jian Wushuang gave an order and they turned around, ready to leave. But the scruffy girl suddenly blocked their way. My elder sister only let the old guy go. Why are you leaving? The girl said while smiling at Jian Wushuang. Sister, these 3 guys bullied you. Do you want me to kill them for you? Leng Rushuang looked toward the 3 warriors. Jian Wushuang's heart missed a beat. He was clear that he was not her match even if he performed soul-devouring secret skill. If he fought with her, he would become ice fragments. No, I don't. The girl shook her head. They didn't bully me. Instead, they helped me a lot. Especially this guy, he blocked those attackers by himself. The scruffy girl winked at Jian Wushuang. Then she turned her gaze toward Leng Rushuang and said, Elder sister, this guy helped me a lot. Please reward him to express my gratitude. Leng Rushuang felt a tremor in her heart and glanced at Jian Wushuang. A warrior of the profound Yang Void Realm could block a half-saint expert and a group of experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Not bad. Big brother, the scruffy girl said, while looking toward Jian Wushuang. Do you want something? My sister is powerful. No matter what you want, she could give it to you. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. He raised his head, threw a glance at Leng Rushuang, and then snorted. Sorry, I don't need anything. Then he waved his hand at Tai Shan and Mo Ying. Let's go. The 3 warriors left directly. Elder sister, why not stop them? The scruffy girl asked. Obviously, the guy didn't want to form a relationship with us. So why did stop them? Leng Rushuang replied. But he did do me a favor. Our father told me that we should show our gratitude to someone that helps us, the scruffy girl said. You dare to mention our father. You sneaked out while our father was in closed-door cultivation. You should be worried about how our father will punish you, Leng Rushuang said in a low voice. Chapter 297, Swordsman, come accept your death. Chapter 297, Swordsman, come accept your death. In the huge residence of Skywave Prefecture, a muscular middle-aged man, with big eyes and bushy eyebrows, sat in the chair, tapping the armrest with his fingertips. The man had a deep, scary knife mark on his forehead and he was surrounded by a violent aura, similar to a monster. This man was the mansion master of Skywave Prefecture, Man Yen. In front of Man Yen stood a person, the black-clothed elder who was afraid of Ling Rushuang. You didn't get it back? Man Yan's eyes widened like copper bells as he stared at the black-clothed elder. I'm incompetent, the black-clothed elder answered in terror. I caught up with the girl, but I didn't expect that she was Ling Rushuang's sister. Ling Rushuang showed up to save her, and I did not have an opportunity to strike back. She wanted me to tell Mansion Master that you could go find her if you are not convinced. Ling Rushuang? Man Yen squinted. Even he held Ling Rushuang in awe, so he did not dare to pick a fight with her. Asshole! Man Yen stood up while violently slapping the armchair into dust, then said, I've cultivated the three-colored spiritual vine for dozens of years. In order to get it, I paid a high price, let alone years of cultivation, but now. Man Yen was furious, but he had to bear the resentment in his heart. The three-colored spiritual vine was precious. More importantly, it was the main ingredient for refining a Saint Breakthrough Elixir. A Saint Breakthrough Elixir was the only hope for him to reach the Saint Realm. He had been collecting the materials needed to refine it. As of now, he had gathered all of them, except for the three-colored spiritual vine, which had yet to mature. He never expected the girl to steal it right after it matured. That was the reason why he was so filled with rage and resentment. However, he could do nothing, as it was Ling Rushuang's sister who took the three-colored spiritual vine away. Her sister seemed to have already eaten it. What could he do? The black-clothed elder was secretly in shock. He was afraid that Man Yen would vent his anger on him, because he knew the three-colored spiritual vine was important to the mansion master. Suddenly, the black-clothed elder raised his eyebrows and spoke. Mansion master, in fact, I originally had a chance to get the spiritual vine back. What do you mean? Yang Zixuan looked toward him. I had already caught up with the girl. When I was ready to catch her, I was blocked by Swordsman, the first protector of the Heartless sect, so I could not grab the girl, the black-clothed elder replied. Swordsman? You mean the man who killed 2 half-saint experts in our Skywave Prefecture? Man Yen said in a low voice. He was the mansion master, so he knew about the things that happened in his prefecture and had heard of the name. Yes. The black-clothed elder nodded and continued, I could have caught the girl and gotten the spiritual vine back. Then I could have released the girl and made an apology to them when Ling Rushuang arrived. However, Swordsman blocked us. He dared to block you? Man Yen said, with killing intent gushing out. Moreover, when I bumped into him, I used Mansion Master's name, but he did not care, the black-clothed elder added in an attempt to fuel his anger. How dare he? Man Yen snorted, with endless fury in his eyes. It's true that I don't dare to piss off Ling Rushuang, but even a little expert doesn't put me in his eyes. He is courting death. Man Yen had no place to give vent to his anger, so he could only vent it on Jian Wushuang. Huangfu Ming, Man Yen shouted. A figure immediately appeared in front of Man Yen and spoke respectfully, Mansion Master. Go to Heartless City right now and bring me Swordsman's head. Man Yen gave the order. Okay. Huangfu Ming nodded. Let me go with you, the black-clothed elder said, then followed him. Whoosh! 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 Led by Huangfu Ming and the black-clothed elder, a large number of figures flew up into the air in the Skywave Prefecture. Bro Huangfu, you must be careful when fighting with Swordsman. His cultivation is low, but he is really powerful. Chapter 298, Fight to the Death. Chapter 298, Fight to the Death. Mr. Huangfu Ming, I wonder why you have come to our Heartless sect. Master of Heartless sect spoke in a low voice. Master of Heartless sect? Huang Fu-ming cast a glance at the master of Heartless Sect, then coldly said, "None of your business. Just stand aside. If you dare to step in, there is no need for your Heartless Sect to exist." Huang Fu-ming. The expression of the master of Heartless Sect changed. Huang Fu-ming, who was unwilling to talk with the master of Heartless Sect, looked downward with his cold eyes. In a courtyard, Jian Wushuang, who had just returned, squinted and looked up at the sky. The moment he moved his body and appeared in the air, he saw Huang Fu-ming and the black-clothed elder. "Just as I expect, they are from Skywave Prefecture." Jian Wushuang did not feel surprised and knew why they came. "They don't dare to make trouble for Ling Rushuang, so they came to piss me off." The Lord of Skywave Prefecture is quite narrow-minded." Jian Wushuang sneered. "Are you Swordsman?" Huang Fu-ming looked towards Jian Wushuang. Huang Fu-ming. Jian Wushuang also recognized the challenger. Huang Fu-ming was the half-saint expert that ranked 41st on the Blood Moon list. All the experts within the top 27 had reached the Saint realm, except the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. As the only half-saint expert, he also had battle strength in the Saint realm. Huang Fu-ming could rank 44th, indicating that he was one of the strongest among the half-saint experts. Huang Fu-ming is much stronger than Xuanying and Lu Yi. Jian Wushuang thought. "Swordsman, you must know why I'm here. You offended our mansion master." "I've been ordered to take your head," Huang Fu-ming said coldly. "There are many people who want my head." "Who is he?" Jian Wushuang gave a contemptuous smile. He was not afraid of Holy Emperor Palace. How was it possible to put a Lord of Skywave Prefecture in his eyes? "You are courting death," Huang Fu-ming shouted. He moved his wrist and a double-edged giant axe appeared in his hand. He took a sudden step in the air, causing invisible waves to spread out. He immediately lifted up his giant axe and hacked at Jian Wushuang. The slash was extremely powerful, seemingly strong enough to cut through a mountain. Jian Wushuang stared at it coldly, with a cyan long sword in his hand. The ordinary sword only looked sharp. However, a roaring power erupted as Jian Wushuang's spiritual power surged. Selfless sword technique, 5th move. Blood-rupturing movement. His world origin suddenly erupted, shaking the surroundings, as if the whole world in front of him was being suppressed. They launched frontal attacks, without any tricks. Boom! Jian Wushuang halted and was instantly repulsed. After retreating back almost 100 meters, he regained his stance. "I performed blood-rupturing movement with all my strength, but I was still overpowered by him." Jian Wushuang thought in surprise. The famous swordsman is just so, Huang Fu-ming said with a cold smile. "I underestimated you at first." "Then, try my 6th move," Jian Wushuang said indifferently. "The 6th move, you still can't overpower me." Huang Fu-ming lifted his double-edged giant axe, with a rush of battle intent in his eyes. His body became larger at this moment, and a scary aura began gushing out. The giant axe suddenly lashed out. Selfless sword technique, 6th move. While remaining composed, Jian Wushuang swung his long sword again. Boom! This time, Jian Wushuang and Huang Fu-ming retreated at the same time. Both of them were repelled more than 1,000 meters. Huang Fu-ming even retreated to the edge of Heartless City. This time, the result was a draw. "Good, you live up to the position of a top expert who ranks 41st on the Blood Moon list." Suddenly, the world fell into darkness. In the darkness, only a brilliant stake of sword light remained, lighting up the world. Huang Fu-ming began to panic and performed his best move again. The moment his stroke collided with the streak of sword light, his giant axe was knocked away. Then the sword light, still at full power, slashed through Huang Fu-ming's body. Huang Fu-ming widened his eyes, but his body was already split in two. All the onlookers were shocked. An eerie silence fell upon all of Heartless City. Countless eyes were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang slowly withdrew his sword and could not help but shake his head while watching Huang Fu-ming's body fall down. He really is strong. If I fought with him a year ago, I would not have killed him so easily. But now, he was not even qualified to see the 8th move. Jian Wushuang spoke frankly. On hearing this, everyone was petrified. The 8th move? He could perform the 8th move. He did not use all of his strength. Everyone shouted in shock. Huang Fu-ming, who ranked 41 on the Blood Moon list, was considered a top half-saint expert. However, Jian Wushuang killed him without using his full strength. What did it mean? Their first protector might not be far off from the strength of a real Saint Realm warrior. In fact, after a year of cultivation, Jian Wushuang's strength improved greatly. He could kill a half-saint expert a year ago, so there was no doubt that he was extremely powerful now. People haven't noticed it because he rarely displayed his moves. Skywave Prefecture. I originally thought I would go there after a period of practice. Now that the Lord of Skywave Prefecture has come to find me first, I'll take the next step forward. Jian Wushuang thought and looked toward the black-clothed elder. Listen, go back to tell your lord that I will fight to the death with him outside of Heartless City in 3 days. They believed Swordsman would be able to defeat the Lord of Skywave Prefecture in several years, but right now. Don't worry. Since I dared to challenge him, I'm prepared for it, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He was not comforting himself, he did have confidence. He had made great progress during this year of practice. He originally planned to challenge the Lord of Skywave Prefecture after a period of time. Now he was just bringing the schedule forward a bit earlier than he had planned. Time was fleeting. 3 days passed quickly. On the night before the fight, Jian Wushuang sat alone in the center of his courtyard. His realm of sword essence spread out like the tide, covering the whole yard. The sword essence was terrifying. Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes, raised his head, and looked up into the dark night sky, with the flash of a smile on his face. There he is. Whoosh! A figure appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The figure wore a wicked blood-red mask, with a sharp sword on his back. It was his slaughter doppelganger, Nan. Over the past year, Jian Wushuang meditated on the world origin in the Heartless sect, while his slaughter doppelganger traveled around, challenging experts everywhere. Nan was famous now. Nan ranks 36th on the Blood Moon list and seems to be at the half-saint level. He has comprehended slaughter origin and fought with 10 half-saint experts. 9 of them were killed by him and only 1 expert was lucky enough to survive. There is no doubt that he possesses a soaring battle strength. This was the introduction of Nan on the Blood Moon list. Nan was only suspected to be a half-saint expert because he was a slaughter doppelganger and could hide his spiritual power and aura so perfectly that others could not see his real cultivation. They made their judgment only according to the strength he showed. In fact, his slaughter doppelganger's cultivation, which was determined by his own level, was only at the profound Yang Void realm. I cannot only depend on myself to fight against the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, so I called you back, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Nan nodded slightly and then walked toward Jian Wushuang. In the next moment, the slaughter doppelganger and Jian Wushuang completely merged into one. His triple kill sword was also back in his hand. The triple kill sword. Jian Wushuang looked at the killing sword, that possessed a roaring killing intent, and fondled it. The triple kill sword began quivering slightly, as if it was responding to its owner. Jian Wushuang wore a smile and said, "Everything depends on tomorrow." This night, Jian Wushuang sat alone in the courtyard all night. Chapter 300, The Final Fight. Chapter 300, The Final Fight. The next morning, when dawn broke and the first rays of sunshine were shining on the courtyard, Jian Wushuang, who was sitting on the ground, finally opened his eyes. Many experts of the Heartless sect had quietly waited up in the air over their sect. When Jian Wushuang appeared outside, they all looked toward him with fervent eyes. Jian Wushuang had become a legend in these experts' eyes. If he could defeat or kill the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, his myth would continue. Swordsman. The master of Heartless sect looked at Jian Wushuang. It's time to set off, Jian Wushuang said calmly. There was a wilderness area outside Heartless City. It was very bleak without even weeds, only some stones. People hardly came here, but today it was full of people. Two young men in the crowd were talking. Look, the young man with the long sword on his back is Swordsman. He is Swordsman. He is so young. He looks about 20 years old. At his age, he dares to challenge the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, the short and thin man said with a strange look. The purple-haired youth replied, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture has a high status. Not just anyone is qualified to challenge him. Even if the experts who were in the top 100 on the Blood Moon list want to challenge him, he might ignore them. Mr. Swordsman is young, but he is very powerful indeed. You must know Huang Fu-ming, who ranked 41st on the list, right? He was killed by Swordsman. Moreover, Mr. Swordsman didn't use all his strength in that fight. If I could catch up with Swordsman someday, I could die without regret. The purple-haired youth could not help but sigh. There was one person in the air, Jian Wushuang. All the onlookers in the Yinyang Void Realm stood on the ground to watch this fight, showing respect for Swordsman and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. So many people. Jian Wushuang thought secretly when overlooking the dense crowd beneath. There were at least thousands of onlookers who were also strong. At that moment, a sharp boom suddenly resounded. A huge fireball darted over like falling meteor. In an instant, it appeared about 300 meters away from Jian Wushuang. After the fire disappeared, a strong figure with a violent aura appeared. The tall, muscular man had a scary knife mark on his face, with a roaring killing intent, as if he was a beast. He stood quietly in the air, looking toward Jian Wushuang with his cold eyes. You came early. Are you anxious to die? The Lord of Skywave Prefecture asked and sneered. Who will die is not decided by your words, Jian Wushuang replied coldly. You're right. It's up to my strength, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said seriously. He clenched his right fist, surrounded by a soaring flame, while gathering the great power in his hand. Make your move, Jian Wushuang said calmly with his sword in his hand. The two people, floating in the sky, chatted casually under the gaze of countless experts. At this moment, all the onlookers held their breath and stared at this fight with their full attention. Up in the air, the two giant figures' aura rapidly increased until they reached their limit. Countless onlookers were shocked by their aura. Suddenly, a gleam of killing intent flashing in his eyes, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture started the fight. Whoosh! The Lord of Skywave Prefecture pushed off and dashed out like an ancient fierce beast, striding 1,000 feet in an instant. Then he launched an attack with his right fist. The punch, covered in an endless flame, immediately swelled. The huge fire punch became as large as a house while rushing toward Jian Wushuang. It was like a falling meteor. Jian Wushuang wielded the triple kill sword, filled with a roaring power, and displayed the seventh move of selfless sword technique. Chapter 301, A Fierce Fight. Chapter 301, A Fierce Fight. The onlookers were stunned. Too strong. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture is terrifying. I feel like his casual punch could kill me. Swordsman is also strong. He was able to fight him to a draw for now. Everyone had gleaming eyes as they stared at the two. They knew both sides had just made tentative attacks, so they had not used their full strength. Nobody noticed the two figures that were standing in the air near the battlefield and watching the fight. They were Ling Rushuang and her sister. Big brother is quite powerful, her sister said. Powerful? Ling Rushuang replied with cold eyes, for someone that is only in the profound Yang Void Realm, his battle strength is good. Compared to others' great acclaim, Ling Rushuang thought Jian Wushuang's performance was just good. While standing above the area, Jian Wushuang and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture both stabilized their body and looked at each other. Good, no wonder you dared to challenge me. You do indeed possess some strength. Lord of Skywave Prefecture stared at Jian Wushuang in the same way he would look at his prey. As a lord of a prefecture, you haven't shown your full strength, right? Show it, or it will be boring for me to attack you, Jian Wushuang said casually. Lord of Skywave Prefecture had shown his scary strength in the fierce confrontation. He had comprehended origin of all beasts and origin of raging fire, reaching the peak of momentum. He also could activate 90% of origin of heaven and earth. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was not weaker than him in the enlightenment of the origin. His attack was violent and strong, much stronger than an ordinary half-saint expert. It was no wonder that he had battle strength of the saint realm and was qualified to be the lord of a prefecture. Jian Wushuang clearly understood that the Lord of Skywave Prefecture had not displayed his real battle strength and that he lived up to his rank on the Blood Moon list. I haven't used my full strength in a long time because no one could make me, but you're qualified, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said with a faint smile. He took out a pair of red gloves, which were full of scary mysterious cracks, and slowly put on them. The onlookers could not help but exclaim. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture had fought against Jian Wushuang using his fist, but now he was going to use his gloves. This pair of gloves was his weapon. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture is going to use his full strength. I wonder how strong he is. All the experts looked at him with an expectant look. Jian Wushuang shot a glance at the gloves. He remained calm, but in fact, he was a bit worried. Little guy, I hope you can hold on for a while, that way I can have more fun, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said and grinned. Come on. Jian Wushuang had prepared himself. Boom! Then tracks of flames suddenly appeared in the air, as if the whole sky became a sea of fire. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture looked like flaming war god that was standing in fire. He overlooked the world with his twinkling eyes and roaring killing intent. As he clenched his right fist, the flames directly moved toward his fist at an amazing speed. In an instant, the sea of fire completely gathered in his fist. Go to hell! The Lord of Skywave Prefecture shouted. With a single stride, he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and immediately threw the powerful punch towards Jian Wushuang's head. In the blink of an eye, the sky split and the ground cracked, as if a dormant volcano had suddenly erupted after billions of years. Jian Wushuang felt as if the furious power could burn the whole world. He is stronger than me in origin of raging fire. Jian Wushuang thought with a serious look. He knew that this punch was 1.5 times stronger than the previous one. As for their strength, even a 10% improvement meant a lot, but the Lord of Skywave Prefecture had improved his power by 50%. If Jian Wushuang still performed the 8th move of Selfless Sword technique, he would be defeated without a doubt. Jian Wushuang was a bit surprised, but he did not panic. As the furious power swept towards him, his scary killing intent suddenly erupted. The ice-cold killing intent chilled the blood of countless experts. Chapter 302, Sword C. Chapter 302, Sword C. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture's expression changed when he felt the tides of sword essence somewhat hindering his movements. A special trick. It looks like domain, but it is not the real thing, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said coldly. He suddenly withdrew his hand. The next moment, a magic red light gleamed in his hand. The flash of light looked violent and blazing. The moment Jian Wushuang saw it, his heart could not help but skip a beat. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture held the flash of red light and then launched a powerful punch toward Jian Wushuang. Dragon Howl! He shouted with a frightening look. Dragon Roar, his strongest skill, was displayed. The huge punch looked ordinary, but when it appeared, flames suddenly filled the sky, converging into a gigantic flaming dragon. With an incredible howl, it rushed toward Jian Wushuang. In an instant, the weather changed and the whole area trembled. Jian Wushuang felt the strength of this flaming dragon, but managed to keep a cool expression. Even ordinary experts of the Saint Realm who saw this powerful move would take it seriously, as did Jian Wushuang. Try my next stroke. Jian Wushuang spoke. He coldly stared at his opponent with a roaring killing intent. He slowly slashed out with the triple kill sword, and the phantom giant behind him also attacked. The moment the stroke lashed out, the whole world became dead still. All the onlookers held their breath. Everyone stared at the stroke and shivered in fright. Although they knew they were not the target, they still felt as if they would be killed by it. Quite a few experts were petrified by this stroke. The second move of the blood-emptying technique, sky-shaking stroke. As a superior third-grade sword skill, the blood-emptying technique only had 3 moves, but all the moves were very powerful. The first move of the blood-emptying technique, all-smashing stroke, was powerful enough. The second move could release more power than the first one. The stroke could destroy the whole world and exterminate everything. Jian Wushuang had just mastered the second move and had not used it against anyone yet. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was the first opponent Jian Wushuang attacked using this move. The huge sword shadow collided with the flaming dragon, but the head-on collision did not result in a loud sound. The two forces quietly weakened each other at breakneck speed. Suddenly, a huge fireball moved toward Jian Wushuang, burning his upper clothes and even beginning to burn parts of his upper body. Fortunately, he triggered his spiritual power to extinguish the fire, or he would have been burnt to ash. In fact, the upper part of his body was blackened by the fire, with some parts even being scorched. What a terrifying attack! Jian Wushuang looked at his blackened body and sighed in private. Then he sneered. He might not be in good condition after receiving my strike. Jian Wushuang looked up, towards the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. The latter widened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of blood. The onlookers could not help but exclaim. He spat blood. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture spat blood? One spat blood, the other was burned. What a bitter fight. It was bitter indeed. Many people originally thought the Lord of Skywave Prefecture would win, as he had been famous for longer and should be stronger than the young man. However, now, no one dared to think this way. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture wiped off the blood on the corner of his mouth, breathing deeply as he looked toward Jian Wushuang. I took it lightly. I didn't expect your stroke to be full of killing intent. My carelessness gave you an opportunity. I won't let it happen again. Really? Jian Wushuang asked while smiling slightly. Let's fight. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture snarled and launched another attack. With a roaring killing intent, Jian Wushuang prepared to block it. The final battle continued. Bang! 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 The crashes shook the area and the frightening power spread to the ground below. The land changed so much that it was no longer recognizable, yet Jian Wushuang and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture were still locked in a fierce battle. Both of them tried their best, but they could only draw against each other. The onlookers enjoyed it. The tide-like sword realm that Jian Wushuang emanated started to change without any signs. The tide-like sword essence became more turbulent, spreading more widely. After a while, the realm of sword essence had pervaded a radius of more than 1,000 meters. In the sword realm, endless sword essence swept toward the Lord of Skywave Prefecture like a tsunami. What? The Lord of Skywave Prefecture's face changed. Jian Wushuang was ecstatic at this moment. The third move of the sword realm, Sword C. Jian Wushuang mastered the second move of the sword realm a year ago. Then he had studied the third move, which was quite profound. Though he spent a year practicing it, he still felt he had not fully grasped it. He did not expect to comprehend Sword C during this fierce fight. Yet, it happened so easily. Experts of the Daluo Heaven sect would go crazy in envy if they knew. After all, the sword realm came from the Daluo Heaven sect. A large number of experts had studied this sword skill in the history of the Daluo Heaven sect, but none of them had mastered the third move, Sword C. Jian Wushuang had only practiced the sword realm for about a year, but now he had mastered Sword C. It was a big surprise for him. Jian Wushuang was somewhat stunned. After coming to his senses, he looked toward the Lord of Skywave Prefecture and spoke in a cold voice. Lord of Skywave Prefecture, it seems that you will die today, Jian Wushuang said. Protector Swordsman, oh, no. We should call you Lord. Right, Lord. That fight startled all of us. A peerless expert, who had battle strength equal to the Saint Realm, had been killed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile. He challenged the Lord of Skywave Prefecture and killed him. From now on, he would become the new Lord of Skywave Prefecture. This was the rule of the Tang dynasty. As the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, he could be considered an overlord in the Tang dynasty. Jian Wushuang suddenly raised his head and looked toward the doorway, where a little head popped out. Who is that? The master of Heartless Sect and the other protectors perceived it, and looked towards the doorway. When they saw the scruffy girl of 15 or 16 years old, they had an odd look on their faces. The scruffy girl ignored their attention and stepped inside. After standing beside Jian Wushuang, she winked at him, without saying a word. Jian Wushuang's face changed. He did not have a good impression on the scruffy girl and her elder sister. If not for the scruffy girl, he would not have fought with the Lord of Skywave Prefecture so soon. Why did you come here? Where is your elder sister? Jian Wushuang asked, frowning. I came here for you. I want to play with you. As for my sister, she has her things to do, the scruffy girl replied innocently, Big brother, my name is Ling Rushua. Chapter 304, Tan Feng. Chapter 304, Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang looked at the childish girl and said seriously, I don't have time to play with you. Then I can play by myself, the scruffy girl said and snorted. Then she haughtily walked toward the doorway, while throwing a meaningful glance at the other experts. The master of Heartless Sect and the other protectors all had a surprised look on their faces. After the girl left, the master of Heartless Sect could not help but ask, Swordsman, is she your friend? Friend? No, she isn't. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had met the girl and her elder sister once, so he did not count them as his friends. The girl has a powerful background. Even I'm afraid of the person behind her, Jian Wushuang said. Powerful background? The master of Heartless Sect was surprised. Master, if the girl wants to stay here for several days, please let her do whatever she wants. As long as she doesn't go overboard, just leave her alone, Jian Wushuang said. Upon hearing this, the master of Heartless Sect wore a wry smile. Obviously, they had to treat this girl like a young master. The next day, the renewed Blood Moon list showed that Jian Wushuang ranked 21st, taking the place of Man Yan. The news shook the Tang dynasty. The experts on the list often challenged each other, so their rankings often changed. That was why the Blood Moon list was renewed every day. The rankings on the list often fluctuated between the half-saint experts and experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Top 30 of the list consisted of 26 experts of the Saint Realm and 4 experts who had the battle strength of the Saint Realm. They rarely fought with each other, so their rankings seldom changed. Every change would arouse the attention of the public. Not only many experts of the Tang dynasty, but the old sects of the Nanyang continent kept an eye out for this list. When it was renewed, the old sects immediately knew that Swordsman ranked 21st. Holy Emperor Palace also received the news. Swordsman is only in the profound Yang Void Realm, but he killed the Lord of Skywave Prefecture in a face-to-face battle. He is young and adept at sword principle. Our Holy Emperor Palace has offered a reward for killing Jian Wushuang. When he was in the initial Yang Void Realm, he fought 2 experts of the Saint Realm. Moreover, he is good at sword principle. This swordsman from the Tang dynasty is probably Jian Wushuang. We finally found him. Go kill him right now. Holy Emperor Palace issued an order. The next day, 2 figures appeared outside of Heartless City. One of them was a fat middle-aged man. He wore a mild smile while standing beside the other respectfully. Sir Tan Feng, Heartless City is not far from us. Our target is there right now, the middle-aged man said reverently. A bald elder stood there with a cold look. He did not emanate any aura as if he was air. Divine transcendence. This bald elder was a true expert of the Saint Realm. Anyone that heard his name would be shocked. Tan Feng ranked 9th on the Blood Moon list. He reached divine transcendence 100 years ago and had already mastered a domain. Swordsman poses a threat to our Holy Emperor Palace. Sir, he is powerful, so you need to use your full strength to kill him. Don't give him any chances, the middle-aged man added. It's not a big deal to kill him. Tan Feng narrowed his eyes and nodded. I care more about the thing Holy Emperor Palace promised to give me after killing him. Don't worry, sir. As long as you kill him, our palace will offer you the superior 3rd-grade magic weapon and the superior 2nd-grade origin manual you want, the middle-aged man replied with a smile, but he was somewhat reluctant in his heart. There had been friction between the Holy Emperor Palace and the alchemy school. The latter kept an eye on the top experts from the palace, so they could not kill Jian Wushuang by themselves and had to turn to Tan Feng for help. After all, the superior 3rd-grade magic weapon and superior 2nd-grade origin manual were also important for Holy Emperor Palace. Since it's decided, let's go, Tan Feng said. They moved fast and immediately arrived in the area over Heartless City. This is the lair of the Heartless sect. Swordsman is there. Sir, let's do it. The middle-aged man spoke. Tan Feng nodded. Just as he was about to descend, he suddenly stopped. That is, a flash of light caught his attention. He instantly saw a beautiful figure standing above a tower. The figure also coldly looked in his direction. Sir, what's wrong? The middle-aged young man asked. Wait a minute, Tan Feng frowned and replied seriously, I didn't expect her to be here. The middle-aged man also frowned. Tan Feng's expression became a bit unnatural. She was Leng Rushuang. She was powerful and ranked 1st on the Blood Moon list. Tan Feng did not know Leng Rushuang's real strength, because he did not have the guts to fight with her. Sir, hurry up, the middle-aged young man said. Shut up. Tan Feng scolded him and thought. She came here for Swordsman. Does she have some kind of relationship with him? If I kill him, will I be courting death? Tan Feng was not sure why Leng Rushuang came here, so he did not dare to take action. Leng Rushuang was standing there, like the 9th heaven goddess. Then she looked away from the bald elder. An expert of the Saint Realm came for Swordsman? Leng Rushuang murmured. Then she moved toward Jian Wushuang's courtyard. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was practicing his swordsmanship, while Leng Rushue was sitting on the stone stool and eating a chicken leg, with her mouth covered in grease. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew and the whole yard immediately became cold. Then, Leng Rushuang appeared before their eyes. Chapter 305, Refuse. Chapter 305, Refuse. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked at Leng Rushuang. Elder sister, why are you here? Leng Rushue asked while putting down the chicken leg. Leng Rushuang ignored her sister and looked toward Jian Wushuang. An expert of the Saint Realm has arrived. He should be here for you. An expert of the Saint Realm? Here for me. Jian Wushuang frowned. Holy Emperor Palace? Jian Wushuang realized that Holy Emperor Palace would find him once he became famous in the Tang dynasty. After all, a sword principal warrior who was in the profound Yang Void Realm and could kill Man Yan, could only be him. But he did not expect that Holy Emperor Palace would move so quickly. The day after the news that he ranked 21st spread, experts from Holy Emperor Palace had arrived to kill him. I know the Saint Realm expert. He is Tan Feng and ranks 9th on the list. He has also mastered domain. If he wants to kill you, you won't have any chance to escape, Leng Rushuang said coldly. Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang recalled the introduction about Tan Feng in the Blood Moon list. His face grew solemn. Then he looked toward Leng Rushuang and asked, what do you want to say? My sister likes playing around, but she's too weak to protect herself. If I let her do whatever she wants in the Tang dynasty, I'm afraid that she would be chased by someone like last time, so I'd like to hire a guard for her, Ling Rushuang answered. You want me to be her guard? Jian Wushuang said. Your strength is good. I think you're qualified for this job. As long as you promise to be my sister's guard for 5 years, I will help you kill the expert of the Saint Realm. Moreover, I can ensure that no one dares to challenge you. What do you think? Ling Rushuang's voice was still cold. Upon hearing this, Ling Rushue widened her eyes, expectantly staring at Jian Wushuang. Sorry, I refuse. Jian Wushuang shook his head without even thinking. He disliked hiding under someone else's shelter. Therefore, even though Wang Yuan invited him, he did not go to the alchemy school, let alone stay with Ling Rushue for 5 years. Even if it only took him 5 days or a few months, Jian Wushuang would not accept it. In that case, you will have to find your own way of dealing with Tan Feng, Ling Rushuang said. I never depend on anyone, Jian Wushuang replied coldly. Then he walked out of the yard. 2 people had been waiting there. Tai Shan and Mo Ying. Jian Wushuang spoke seriously. I'm leaving here. If there is an opportunity, I'll come back. Please help me tell the other protectors. Then Jian Wushuang immediately left. Tai Shan and Mo Ying were surprised and could not figure out why their first protector left so abruptly. Tan Feng immediately perceived that Jian Wushuang was trying to escape. He wants to run away, Tan Feng said in a low voice. Sir, what are you waiting for? Go kill him. The middle-aged young man spoke anxiously. No, wait a moment. Tan Feng shook his head and stared in the direction of Ling Rushuang. She should know that I came for Swordsman. I don't know what relationship Swordsman has with her. If I try to kill Swordsman, will she stop me? Tan Feng still had some concerns, because Ling Rushuang was much more powerful than him. At this moment, he saw Ling Rushuang leave with Ling Rushue. Tan Feng raised his brows. She didn't come to stop me or give me any warnings. That means she won't protect Swordsman. Tan Feng was immediately relieved. Then a blast of powerful aura spread out. Swordsman, I'm here. Where are you going? Do you think you can run away? A cold, loud voice resounded through the sky. Tan Feng suddenly rushed towards Jian Wushuang. The voice shook the whole city. Who wants to kill Protector Swordsman? Many experts of the Heartless sect shot up into the sky. They immediately saw 2 figures moving in the distant sky. One was Swordsman, and the other was a bald elder, who was exuding a roaring aura. The Saint Realm. A real Saint Realm expert. He is Tan Feng, ranked 9th on the Blood Moon list. He is hunting Swordsman. A burst of exclamations went up throughout the city. What's going on? The master of Heartless sect and the other protectors gathered and watched it with a terrible look on their faces. He just killed Man Yen, now Tan Feng came. Tan Feng is much stronger than Man Yen. The experts of Heartless sect were anxious for Jian Wushuang, but they did not have the strength to step in, so they could do nothing. Now, only Ling Rushuang could help Jian Wushuang, but she did not want to. Elder sister, you really won't save Big Brother? Ling Rushue asked pathetically. He didn't want my help. Why should I save him? Ling Rushuang replied coldly. But Big Brother helped me. I owe him a favor, Ling Rushue continued. That's you, not me, Ling Rushuang said. Elder sister. Ling Rushue got angry. Fine, don't worry about him, Ling Rushuang glanced at her sister and said, I know he is not ordinary. Tan Feng might be stronger than him, but it isn't easy for him to kill your big brother. Oh? Ling Rushue calmed herself down. Jian Wushuang ran quickly, so he immediately reached outside of the city. He also perceived Tan Feng behind him. The bald elder moved forward, emanating waves which spread out over a radius of hundreds of meters. Domain. Jian Wushuang was shocked. As for origin, enlightenment, momentum and domain were totally different. An expert who achieved domain would be much more powerful than the one who only reached momentum. His father, Jian Nantian, only had half-saint cultivation, but he could kill an expert of the saint realm with one stroke because he had reached domain and controlled it very well. Chapter 306, A Desperate Escape. Chapter 306, A Desperate Escape. Jian Wushuang was thinking about how to deal with the attacker. An expert of the saint realm, who has comprehended domain, is much stronger than Man Yan. Based on my strength, I can't have a head-on fight with him. He is much faster than me. It won't take long before he catches up with me. I can't escape. If I want to survive, there are still 3 options. Jian Wushuang was thinking quickly. First, he could turn to Ling Rushuang for help. Ling Rushuang was not far from him. As long as he promised to be her sister's guard, she would save him. The idea just flashed through his mind, but it was immediately overruled by him. Jian Wushuang could not make such a promise. Even though he may die, he was still unwilling to be her sister's guard and nanny for 5 years. Second, he could fight against Tan Feng using soul-devouring secret skill. He could perform the 2nd volume of soul-devouring secret skill. Then with his rising cultivation, he could fight Tan Feng, but he might still not win in the end. The 3rd way would cost him too much, so Jian Wushuang did not want to do it, unless he had no way out. Now I have to fight to the death. Jian Wushuang thought, a hint of madness flashing through his eyes. Soul-devouring secret skill. In the blink of an eye, a blast of scary power erupted from his body. Jian Wushuang was still running away, while his body changed into a massive vortex, devouring everything from the surroundings. The natural power rushed toward him at an amazing speed. The ground below became dry and cracked, trees, grass, and flowers withered. With the help of this natural power, Jian Wushuang immediately improved his cultivation of spiritual power to its limit. Ling Rushuang was a bit surprised at his strength. A special tactic using natural power to improve cultivation. The half-saint realm. With red eyes, Jian Wushuang looked ferocious. He clenched his hands and felt a sharp pain caused by his soaring strength. When he was in the initial Yang Void realm, he improved to the peak of the Yang Void realm, after performing the 2nd volume of soul-devouring secret skill. Now he improved to the half-saint realm from the profound Yang Void realm after performing it. With the half-saint cultivation and advantage of heavenly creation skill, Jian Wushuang's strength erupted. He might be a bit stronger than a real expert of the saint realm. Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang ground out, a hint of killing intent flashing in his eyes. He suddenly dashed toward Tan Feng, like a shooting star. He didn't run away. Tan Feng sneered. The waves emanating from him swept toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately felt as if he had fallen into mud. His body was suppressed, so it was harder for him to perform his swordsmanship. This is domain. Jian Wushuang thought secretly. Domain was powerful indeed. He was stuck in a domain, with 60% of his strength suppressed. Instantly, Jian Wushuang unleashed streaks of sword essence, which converged into a vast sea and swept out. Although it was incomparable to domain, it helped him reduce the restraint of the domain. Only 30% of his strength was suppressed. Very special tactic. It's a pity that it isn't strong enough. Tan Feng looked at Jian Wushuang and wore a faint smile. Jian Wushuang exuded his soaring killing intent, his triple-kill sword madly shaking in his hand. A towering phantom giant slowly emerged behind him and wielded his long sword. In an instant, everything trembled. Jian Wushuang performed his strongest move, the 2nd move of blood-emptying technique. Tan Feng sneered. Then he struck a blow to slap at the sword shadow. Bang! The impact made Tan Feng take 3 steps back. Then he stabilized his stance. He could repel me. Tan Feng looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Jian Wushuang is young, but he can repel me with a head-on attack. If he practices more, he would be stronger than that. You're young but very powerful. If you fight with the experts of the Saint Realm, who has just mastered domain, you might defeat them. What a pity. You're fighting me, Tan Feng said coldly. He stretched his arm, with his palm upward. The surrounding waves began to gather in his palm. In an instant, the surrounding domain completely disappeared. Chapter 307, Jian Wushuang was killed. Chapter 307, Jian Wushuang was killed. Composed, Jian Wushuang had made up his mind. A cold voice rang out. Swordsman, are you going to fight to the death? Just to be my sister's guard for 5 years. It's much better than death. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang glanced at the voice behind, but he just snorted without stopping. Too stubborn. Leng Rushuang stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold look. Big brother, Leng Rushue was worried. Jian Wushuang was chased by Tan Feng. Now they were already far away from Heartless City. Soon after, a lake appeared before Jian Wushuang's eyes. Jian Wushuang had once comprehended world origin by this lake, where he met Leng Rushuang and her sister. His eyes lit up. Then he jumped into the lake. Tan Feng was a bit surprised, but he immediately sneered. You think that I cannot attack you in the lake? Then Tan Feng casually launched an attack. His huge palm violently slapped against the surface of the lake. A large amount of water splashed out, causing the lake to lower its level. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang immediately flew up from the bottom of the lake. Still want to escape? Tan Feng's shout resounded through the whole area. He was less than 1,000 meters away from Jian Wushuang. They were so close that Jian Wushuang was immediately surrounded by the waves Tan Feng emanated. Shit! Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He was originally slower than Tan Feng. Now he was stuck in his domain. As a result, his speed decreased sharply so that Tan Feng almost caught up with him. Brat, go to hell! Tan Feng wore a scary smile while appearing in front of Jian Wushuang. He tried to directly slap Jian Wushuang's head with his deadwood-like hand. At this moment, Jian Wushuang seemed to go mad. He ate several elixirs, which could greatly improve his aura. Then he crazily swung his triple-kill sword to block it. Obviously, he was on the edge of a precipice and was struggling for survival. Want to fight back? Tan Feng sneered. He did not put Jian Wushuang in his eyes. In an instant, the power of domain gathered in his palm. Then, boom! 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 He struck 3 blows in quick succession, each of which contained the energy of splitting the heavens. His eyes filled with madness, Jian Wushuang tried his best to block, but he only deflected 2 strikes. He could only watch the 3rd blow relentlessly flash toward his head. Pang! The blow hit Jian Wushuang's forehead. As its power spread, his mouth, eyes, nose, and ears were bleeding. His breath disappeared in the blink of an eye. Eventually, the whole world went still. Tan Feng saw Jian Wushuang lie on the ground. He sneered. Then he waved his hand and took the body, interspatial ring, and the triple-kill sword away. Tan Feng used his blood to bind the ring to him and wanted to find out what Jian Wushuang held in the ring. Tan Feng was a little surprised. Then he grinned. The boy was quite rich and had so many treasures. That's right. He killed Man Yen and must have grabbed those things from him. Then Tan Feng looked at the triple-kill sword. He held it and immediately sensed a stream of powerful killing intent, while the sword was shaking madly as if it was about to leave. Good sword. I've recognized that his long sword is unusual. It's really powerful. It's a 2nd-grade magic weapon, the Sword of Killing. Tan Feng said with a flicker of delight in his eyes. A 2nd-grade magic weapon was much more precious than all the treasures in the interspatial ring. The superior 3rd-grade magic weapon Holy Emperor Palace promised to give him was not comparable to the triple-kill sword. If Holy Emperor Palace goes back on their word and doesn't offer me my reward, I will still have gained a lot with this sword. Tan Feng smiled. Suddenly, a surge of coldness covered the whole place, as if time had stopped. Tan Feng's expression froze. He tried his best to raise his head. A frosty woman in white, beautiful beyond description, was walking toward him. Leng Rushuang. Tan Feng was shocked. He was afraid of her from the bottom of his heart. It was terror indeed. It was true that he was very powerful in the whole Nanyang continent. Few people were his match. Even the strongest experts from some old sects were weaker than him. It seemed that he only held the 3 valleys and 4 temples, alchemy school, and Holy Emperor Palace in awe. But Tan Feng thought that the white-clothed woman was more terrifying than the alchemy school and Holy Emperor Palace. After all, as the super forces, the alchemy school and Holy Emperor Palace had a lot of scruples, so they would not offend an expert of the Saint Realm who mastered domain. Instead, they would try to maintain a friendly relationship with him. As for Leng Rushuang, she only cared about her sister. Moreover, she was powerful, so she could kill anyone at will. Tan Feng recalled an expert who came from the Tianhe Valley and ranked 5th on the Blood Moon list, a bit stronger than him. Leng Rushuang easily killed the expert without hesitation. At that time, Tianhe Valley originally wanted to take revenge for the expert. However, after a month, the Tianhe Valley changed their attitude and even apologized to Leng Rushuang. You killed him and have taken the interspatial ring, but you have to leave the sword, Leng Rushuang said coldly, with a cold look. Tan Feng's face changed. Sword? Triple kill sword. It was a second-grade magic weapon. After a while, Tan Feng let out a sigh and threw the triple kill sword to Leng Rushuang. Since you want it, I can give it to you. Tan Feng did not dare to refuse. He feared that Leng Rushuang would kill him once he said no. You can go. After she took the triple kill sword, Leng Rushuang slightly withdrew her aura. Then time began to flow as usual. Whoosh! The fat middle-aged man from Holy Emperor Palace appeared by Tan Feng's side and asked with a smile, Sir, how did it go? Since I dealt with such a nobody personally, what do you think? Tan Feng gave a faint smile. You mean he is dead? The middle-aged man's eyes lit up. Tan Feng did not explain. He waved his hand, the corpse of Jian Wushuang appearing in front of them. Many experts' face fell after watching this. In contrast, the middle-aged man became excited. He exclaimed, Haha, Jian Wushuang, this is him indeed. This guy and his father posed a threat to our Holy Emperor Palace. Though his father is more dangerous, the boy has infinite potential. If given several years, he would catch up with his father. Now we have killed him. Sir, thanks for your help, the middle-aged man said gratefully. Don't forget the things you promised to me. Tan Feng smiled and looked at the middle-aged man. Sir, don't worry. Our Holy Emperor Palace pays more attention to our reputation than those 2 things. The middle-aged man nodded in delight. The big news soon spread through the Skywave Prefecture. Swordsman, who had just taken the place of Man Yen, was killed by Tan Feng. It was believable because Tan Feng had displayed his corpse in front of many people. The whole Skywave Prefecture sighed with emotion for this peerless genius. The next day, the Blood Moon list was renewed. The name of Swordsman was removed on the list, which also proved that Jian Wushuang was dead. Chapter 309, Nature Residence. Chapter 309, Nature Residence. This was a quiet bamboo forest. There was a lake deep in the forest. A delicate bamboo house stood by the lake. Jian Wushuang was lying on a bamboo bed in the house, while Leng Rushuang and Leng Rushue stood by his side. Leng Rushuang glanced at Jian Wushuang. Then she slightly waved her hand. Instantly, a blast of white fog emerged and entered the young man's body through his pores. However, shortly after, the white fog was devoured by a great power in his body. What? Leng Rushuang said, a hint of shock flashing through her beautiful eyes. She was just a bit surprised at what Jian Wushuang did to save himself. Few things could make her surprised in the whole Nanyang continent. But now Leng Rushuang was stunned. Elder sister, what's wrong? Leng Rushua looked toward her elder sister and asked. My icy heart force was devoured by him, Leng Rushuang replied seriously. How is it possible? Leng Rushua was petrified. She knew icy heart force was very powerful, so she could not believe it was devoured by someone. I originally wanted to heal him using my icy heart force. I didn't expect that his spiritual power was so strong that it could suppress my icy heart force, Leng Rushuang said in a low voice. It's his cultivation method, which is very special and powerful. Powerful? Is your icy heart manual weaker than it? Leng Rushua asked in surprise. I don't know. Leng Rushuang stared at Jian Wushuang. She had never cared about Jian Wushuang before, but now, she was somewhat curious about him. His cultivation method could devour my icy heart force. Then isn't he able to remove my icy heart poison, Leng Rushuang thought. Now she looked at Jian Wushuang with some expectation. Leng Rushuang said, he is unusual. When we brought him back, he was dying. We didn't give him any elixir on the way home. Now he's much better than before. His healing ability is far superior to an ordinary warrior. He doesn't need any external assistance and should wake up soon. Big brother is so strong. Leng Rushua said with a surprised look. Leng Rushuang glanced at her sister and said, you stay here to look after him. Then Leng Rushuang left the house. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang eventually regained consciousness. He opened his eyes. The first person he saw was a red-robed girl. The girl was extremely beautiful and somewhat mischievous. She was looking at him with her sparkling big black eyes. Big brother, are you okay? The red-robed girl was worried and asked him. You are. Leng Rushua. Jian Wushuang looked at the red-robed girl in surprise. The red-robed girl was Leng Rushua indeed. Previously, Leng Rushua was scruffy and looked like a little beggar, but now, she was pretty. Where am I? Jian Wushuang looked around. He found himself in a bamboo room, with pieces of simple furniture made of bamboo. This is nature residence, where my elder sister lives. You're lucky. After my sister built this house, you're the first one that has come here, except for me and my father, Leng Rushua replied with a big smile. Nature residence? Jian Wushuang slowly sat up. The moment he moved, he immediately felt a sharp pain. His face was distorted. Phew. Jian Wushuang breathed out deeply. I'm seriously injured this time. He suffered a lot indeed. If he had been an ordinary warrior, he would have died already. He was stronger than an ordinary warrior, because his body was remolded with heavenly creation skill. The nature-defying cultivation method also helped him recover. Big brother, let me take you for a walk, Leng Rushua said. My name is Jian Wushuang. You can call me Big Brother Wushuang, Jian Wushuang said gently. Okay, Big Brother Wushuang. Leng Rushua smiled and supported him to walk outside. After stepping outside, Jian Wushuang looked around. Chapter 310, The Incredible Melody. Chapter 310, The Incredible Melody. Domain. Shocked, Jian Wushuang stared at the origin domain that surrounded him. Using his will, he made the domain start to rapidly shrink, then suddenly expand. Finally, he made it fade away as he turned over his hand. It really is domain. I mastered it. But how could this be possible? Jian Wushuang couldn't believe that he really did it. He was quite excellent at comprehending the origin, but there was still a gap separating him and the origin domain. According to his thoughts, it would take him at least 1 year to master it. But now, inexplicably, he reached the domain realm without any effort in comprehending it. Not only had he comprehended the origin, he also had a large improvement in his cultivation. Exceptional Yang Void Realm. While clenching his hands, he could feel a surge of power from his improved cultivation, even though he was injured and could not use it at this moment. He made it to the exceptional Yang Void Realm from the profound Yang Void Realm. He had only recently made it to the profound Yang Void Realm, and at the moment he exited the room, he was definitely still in the profound Yang Void Realm. In only an instant, he had become much stronger. It had to be the melody. Yes, the melody. Jian Wushuang looked at Ling Rushuang with a serious face. He finally realized that it was the music that had helped him progress so much in such a short time. That music had such an incredible effect. Who is she really? His eyes were fixed on Ling Rushuang, but Jian Wushuang was not overjoyed by his progress. On the contrary, he felt an extreme horror that he had never felt before, a horror that almost felt like it would make his heart burst. It was so terrifying. She enhanced his strength so much, in a short while, with her music. What kind of method was this? How frightening was the person who played this melody? Jian Wushuang even thought that his adventures in the ancestors' land was nothing when compared with listening to this music. Big brother Wushuang, how do you feel now? Ling Rushue, who was standing next to him, looked at Jian Wushuang with a grin and said, "There is nothing more precious than the music my sister plays." Nothing more precious? Jian Wushuang secretly nodded. It was indeed precious. At least, Jian Wushuang had never heard of anyone who could enhance others' power by playing an instrument. Ling Rushuang put away the Chinese zither, then stood up and walked towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang felt a bit timid as he watched Ling Rushuang walk towards him. It was because she was frighteningly strong. The only thing he knew about her was from the introduction on the Blood Moon list, which said that she was unfathomably strong with a mysterious background. Jian Wushuang had no idea of her strength until just now when he personally experienced it. It was far more than just frightening. She was unimaginably strong. You saved my younger sister before, and I saved you this time. We're even. You'll have a month to recover from your injuries here before you have to leave, said Ling Rushuang, shooting him a glance before going back to the room. Unbelievable. I never thought that sister would allow you to stay here for a month, Ling Rushue oddly said. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He felt that even though Ling Rushuang was still indifferent to him, she was not holding herself aloft anymore. Big brother Wushuang, please stay here and recover over next month at ease. You can even listen to my sister's music when you're free. Others could never get such a chance. Ling Rushue said and smiled. Jian Wushuang agreed with her. It was hard for him to walk now, since he was badly injured, let alone leave here by himself. Moreover, he didn't intend to leave now. He was so curious about the melody Ling Rushuang had played. The next day, Jian Wushuang had recovered a little bit. So, during the morning, he listened to Ling Rushuang play her Chinese zither again. The melody was rising and falling as if there was magic power in it. Though it was a new song, the moment he heard the sound, Jian Wushuang immediately found himself settling into a peaceful state that he had never felt before, and he could see the origin surrounding him more clearly, comprehend it more efficiently. Though he didn't know what she wanted, he still felt grateful. I do need your help, but not now. You are not strong enough yet. I will look for you once you meet the requirement. At that time, you will definitely help. After all, I rarely need help from others, Ling Rushuang said coldly. Sister, send him away. Ling Rushue quickly walked out of the room. Big brother Wushuang, follow me, said Ling Rushue as she led Jian Wushuang out. Jian Wushuang followed Ling Rushue and walked out of the woods. Once they made it to the perimeter, Ling Rushue took out a jade token and handed it to Jian Wushuang. Big brother Wushuang, take it. Maybe you will need it, Ling Rushue said. What's this? Jian Wushuang looked at it curiously. He got along with Ling Rushue during his month-long stay in the nature residence, so he had no longer had any prejudice or dissatisfaction with these sisters. You will understand, Leng Rushue said and smiled. Jian Wushuang shrugged, then he folded his hands, bowed, and said, "See you." Afterwards, Jian Wushuang quickly disappeared in the void out of the woods. Leng Rushue returned to the woods and went to Leng Rushuang. "Hee, sister, you played the nature melody for a whole month, and you even played the icy heart melody once. Many supreme experts have offered a high price, but they didn't even get to hear it once." Leng Rushue smiled lightly, then asked in a joking voice, "Are you interested in him?" "You're thinking too much." Leng Rushuang glanced at Leng Rushue and then coldly said, "He has a special cultivation method that can devour my icy heart force. He is the first person to be able to do that. I might need his help to control the icy heart poison in my body one day. That's why I helped him." Chapter 313, It's Time for Revenge. Chapter 313, It's Time for Revenge. Sword Realm. Suddenly, sword essence erupted from Jian Wushuang's body, forming a horrifying sword realm, which superimposed with the Blood River. The combination of road to the underworld, slaughter domain, and sword sea. Rumble the bloody river surged up, in all directions, with a terrifying and overwhelming force. This, after feeling the power of the Blood River, even Jian Wushuang couldn't help shuddering with fear. What terrifying power! The power alone can prevent common Saint Realm experts from exerting even 1/10 of their power while trapped in the Blood River. Jian Wushang exclaimed. But he also noticed that more than 1/2 of his spiritual power had already been consumed. He immediately stopped applying the road to the underworld out of fear. The surging Blood River slowly disappeared and the world became peaceful once again, leaving Jian Wushang standing there with a sweaty forehead. The road to the underworld really is a secret art that exceeds first-grade techniques. Its power is very strong, but at the same time it consumes a huge amount of spiritual power, Jian Wushuang said to himself. He finally understood why this secret art had such a high cultivation requirement. Generally, it could only be reluctantly exerted by experts in the Saint Realm. That was because it consumed too much spiritual power. From the time he activated it until just now, which covered only a dozen breaths, more than half of Jian Wushang's spiritual power had been consumed. If he continued to use it, his spiritual power would have been completely exhausted. Moreover, it was only because of the heavenly creation skill, which granted him 10 times more spiritual power than other experts at his rank, that he could sustain it for so long. If Jian Wushuang was just a common warrior at the peak of the Yang Void Realm, even consuming all of his spiritual power wouldn't be enough to display the road to the underworld. With my current spiritual power, if I do my best to exert the road to the underworld while combining it with the slaughter domain and the sword sea, I could sustain it for 20 breaths at most, Jian Wushuang told to himself. Just 20 breaths was too short. Since it consumes so much spiritual power, I'd better not use the road to the underworld unless it is completely necessary. In an ordinary fight, I should only depend on my domain and the sword sea. That should be enough. Jian Wushuang thought deeply. After all, I still have the triple kill sword. Jian Wushuang turned his palm upwards, and the triple kill sword appeared in his hand. After upgrading to a first-grade magic weapon, the triple skill sword radiated hostility that was several times stronger than before. Now, this sword in Jian Wushuang's hand was surging with a level of hostility that was hard to ignore. The triple skill sword is of too high a grade and too powerful, and it should be my trump card in the future. As for ordinary fights, the purple sky sword is enough. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was carrying a purple longsword on his back, the sword that was presented to him by Leng Rushuang. It was also a superior third-grade magic weapon, so it was strong enough to deal with most normal opponents or experts. The triple skill sword and the road to the underworld would become Jian Wushuang's trump cards in the future. Just like the soul-devouring secret skill, they were all trump cards. Now everything is ready. Next, it's time for revenge. Jian Wushang's eyes became cold as killing intention surged through his heart. He was a man who believed in an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He made sure to do things vigorously and effectively. Once it's time for revenge, never postpone. As for the Holy Emperor Palace, he had to tolerate them temporarily because he was not powerful enough. But Tan Feng. A month ago, that guy had chased him and wanted to kill him in such a horrible fashion. Now, Jian Wushuang's strength had increased, and the first thing he intended to do was to kill that guy. With my current strength, I'm confident I can kill him. Having made up his mind, Jian Wushang immediately set off. Tan Feng, who ranked 9th on the Blood Moon list, was quite famous in the Tang dynasty. When the sword light appeared, the whole world began trembling. Momentum. You've even comprehended it to the limit and can activate its full strength? Tan Feng's expression changed, but he was still smiling as he said, however, it's still not enough. Tan Feng just stood there as streaks of invisible waves radiated from him. The invisible waves covered everything for nearly 1,000 meters, including Jian Wushuang. A great power immediately began suppressing him.